maybe you've hit your goals. Maybe you've made a bunch of money. Maybe you travel the world. Maybe you've achieved everything that you've set out to achieve. Yet you still wake up and you feel like something is missing. You still wake up and sometimes you ask yourself, is this really it? Like, is there nothing more besides this? You still wake up feeling a little empty, feeling a little without direction, without purpose, asking yourself, why do I do this? Where do I go from here? Is this just it? You maybe even find yourself feeling stuck in some sort of cycle or pattern. And it might not necessarily be a negative pattern. It could be a positive pattern, but it feels still like you're stuck. There's not really something that excites you. You don't get out of bed thinking, yes, today is a great day, and today we're going to attack it, and today we're going to do something great, and today we're going to work on something that, excites me. But rather, we work on something that we know is good, but it doesn't really excite us. And we're left wondering, well, is this it? Like, what is the next thing that is going to give us some sort of like high, for example? And I've experienced this myself. And if you don't know, I hit rock bottom about 7-8 months ago. And I decided after that I would completely rewire who I was, reinvent myself, rebrand myself, every single aspect of my life. But most and foremost is I would kill the old version of myself. I would bury that guy, the guy that was self-sabotaging, the guy that was insecure, the guy that was dependent on external validation, the guy that thought he was so cool, the guy that did reckless spending, that was drinking, taking drugs, dating multiple women at the same time, the guy that thought he was really cool, but actually looking back at it now, he was kind of a loser, to be honest. He was better than most average people, but he wasn't nearly as close to the best version that he could possibly be. So I went into this journey of self-mastery, but I did it with one single goal, and that was to kill the old version of myself. And the idea was that will help me become the best version of myself. Now, this is in some sort of way true. Let me just crack this up one bit, guys, because then there we go. This is in a way true, right? Because in order to create space for who we want to become, we need to remove the old. We need to remove the old programming, the old beliefs, the old, internal dialogue. We need to change all of these things, and the way that you change it is becoming super aware of who you have been in the past, what you're running on, and why you have been doing the things that you have been doing. But once that I actually did all of that, and I got rid of all of that, and I became super disciplined, waking up early in the mornings, I went full fucking psycho mode, 4 or 5 a.m. wake-ups, cold plunges, reading, just like doing all the good stuff that I was supposed to do. I found myself in a period, actually a quite long kind of period, where I didn't feel that great about myself, where I did all the right things. I was waking up early, took care of myself, I became extremely disciplined, and I had basically killed this old version of myself, yet I still found myself fighting him every single day. And I became incredibly unhappy because I wondered, is this really it? Like, is this now what life has come down to? Just me being extremely disciplined, yet still always battling that old version of me. Because I had changed a lot of things about myself. I have, changed physically. I've reached the best physique of my entire life. I look incredibly fucking jacked. I'm actually surprised by it, But it's because of all the hard work. I've quit drinking, quit taking drugs. I've completely changed my lifestyle. So by all means, I should be proud of what I have achieved. But in that period, this was, I think, a 2 to 3 month period, I didn't feel like that. I did know that I was taking the right actions, but I didn't feel like I was moving forward. I didn't feel like I was progressing, right? So, and that actually was a very tough period because it was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is not what I want to do. And that's because I forgot one very important thing. You see, I had started my entire journey, everything that I'd done was built upon one thing. It was built upon the premise of causation. So my movement was only based upon things that had happened in the past. And I hadn't created something that was in the future that pulled me forward, right? So I was always faced with this negativity, basically, this anti-version of me that was kind of haunting me all the time, right? And I was just running away from it. But I was only running away from something, or I was only dealing with killing something in the past, and I was only dealing with things, and I was only doing things based on causation, based on things that had happened in the past. Now, There's a funny, interesting way of thinking about this because 99% of people, they do this. 99% of us, we are just moving because of things that have happened in the past. And when I talk to entrepreneurs, for example, and they have achieved their dream life isn't even their dream life. Their dream life is just simply a product of something that has happened in the past. I grew up poor, so I never want to be poor again. Well, you didn't choose to grow up poor, right? And I understand this. Or I want financial freedom. How many times have you heard that? I want financial freedom, travel the world, do all of this stuff. And then they reach it and they still kind of feel empty because I wanted that too. But the only reason that I wanted it is because I saw it in someone else. And of course, you want these things in your life. You want to have freedom, right? But is it really the thing for you? Is that really the thing that excites you, that gets you out of bed every single day? Because what if you reach it? Then what? Because every entrepreneur knows this. There comes a time where it becomes quite obvious that it's not really hard to make money online and that you also don't need a lot of money to travel around the world, meet cool people, hang out with, 4 or 5 guys or friends and take a villa in Bali or in Medellin or wherever you want to go and to travel business class with Emirates and look cool on Instagram. It's not really that hard. So this is why so many of these youngsters, I call them, which includes me as well, I'm 28, are feeling unfulfilled and lost without purpose because they have lived their life. They have everything that they have achieved was simply a byproduct of causation. And what that means is that it is not self-authored. The life that you are living is based on expectations, based on conditioning, or based on escaping something, right? And I had the same thing. And the same thing happened, which is one of the reasons why I became very wildly successful in the first place, but it was also the same reason why I kept self-sabotaging myself. And it is also the reason that once I hit rock bottom, I decided to change everything because of that and found myself exactly in the same loop of feeling unfulfilled. Even though my habits had changed and I became a much better person in general, I didn't feel great necessarily. I didn't feel like that. So I asked myself the question, well, what the fuck is it then? And I read a couple of books and I studied and I did my thing because that's what I do now. I just wake up early in the mornings and I do research and I go into like neuroscience and I go into identity change and behavior change and I look at all these things and I wonder, how can I implement these things into my life? What does this tell me about my life? Because this is the stuff that I wish someone would have told me when I was going through all of this, which is what I'm doing for you now. Every single big company in the world does this. They make projections, they make goals, not based on things that have happened in the past, but based on what they want to achieve in the future. Now, the things that you want to achieve in the future, these are things that are pulling you forward. And Tony Robbins says this as well. Tony Robbins says you have something that pushes you forward, which is great, but it's not the only thing, because something that pushes you forward means that it's always behind you, it's always in your back, it's always giving you this. It's usually not a great thing, It's usually you move away from something, you move away from pain, you escape from a certain lifestyle that you don't want to live anymore. You remind yourself of what you used to be, and you don't want to be that. But obviously, that is no way to wake up, that is no way to live, that is no way to create your world, right? That doesn't excite you to run away from everything all the time. So what you instead want to do is you want to create something in the future that pulls you forward, that makes you so excited to wake up every single day. And if you combine these two, if you combine something that I would say guides you and holds you in it guides you from the past, because the past will show you which ways you shouldn't go, what you should watch out for, but it's not something that excites you. Oh, I'm excited about the fact that I hit rock bottom so that I now can become better. No. Those things are usually negative things that have brought you to change. But now we also need something in the future that excites us. And this is exactly the problem. Because ask yourself, when is the last time that you really sat down and you truly asked yourself, what do I want to be? Who do I want to become? How do I want my life to look like? Because most of us have never really asked ourselves that question. Most of us copy things and imitate others online, things that we see, things that we think will make us happy. So how do you create that future vision? Well, first off, you need to know what you're running from, right? So you have to be very aware of that. The first step in all of these things is just awareness, right? Always figure out, where are you coming from? What are you going away from? What is something that you want to avoid happening? Because that is your guideline, right? That will keep. But then you need to really ask yourself, what is it that I really think is important? What really matters to me? Who do I really want to become in this life? What is my purpose? What would a day in my life look like that I would be content with every single day? And that is a pretty interesting question. But there is a good part about it. There are no fucking rules. You can be, this is what I found, this is what I've discovered. You can literally be whoever the fuck you want to be. It doesn't really fucking matter. If you want to be extremely jacked, rich, you want to be good looking, you want to be charismatic, right? You want to make music, you want to be able to play the guitar, you want to be able to sing, you want to be able to chat to girls, you want to be able to travel the world. You could literally do everything. You could be a fucking painter for all I care. You could do everything. Anything. The only thing that is stopping you is two things. One, it is your own, I call it your own mental prison. So these are basically your limiting beliefs. These are basically all of your change that are holding you to an old identity. Because in order to create that future version of yourself, you have to accept that the guy that you are now isn't that, right? There are certain elements in you that you can probably keep or that you can probably build on, but you have to admit, you have to accept that you are going to have to go through change, which your brain doesn't necessarily like, because your brain is wired to keep you in the familiar, in the thing that is safe, right? So you are going to have to go through this difficult period. But if you don't really know where you're going, if that is not exciting you, then you're never going to get there, because then your old self is always going to find a way to self-sabotage. And this is where so many people feel stuck. This is why so many people wake up, even with $1 million in their bank account, waking up in some villa in Bali. They might be grateful, but they don't really feel alive. Now, that is exactly what I had. And I call this the limbo phase, is where you just kind of stuck in this life, but you're not really living. So this usually happens with a lot of high performers who make it. So in order to find that future version of yourself, you need to go into real detail and really double check and ask yourself, is this really what I want? Or is this just simply something that I've really heard somewhere else? So I'll give you an example. Me, deep down, I am an artist. I love making music. I play guitar, I play piano, I sing, I love cinema, I love acting. I'm a geek for fucking movies. I know all the actors, and I, go crazy for lenses and aperture and all those geeky, nerdy things. I love that. And I have basically never really let that part of me shine, because I always thought that I just needed to make money. First do this, and then I'll do that. But those are the things that really get me excited. Those are the things that I actually really enjoy doing. So I needed to find a way to let that guy out and merge that guy with the business side of Jesse. Like, how can I do that? And that shift already made me very excited. That shift already opened up new possibilities, because it showed me that I can make money online, that I can do my thing, I can make impact, but I can do it by being me, by being the best version of me, by being the version that I really want to be. Now, that is something that gets me out of bed every single morning, excited for the day, because I know that what I'm doing is just fully aligned with who I want to be. And I don't have to hide any of these things. So in order to create that future version of yourself, it is actually already there. You already know what you really want to do, but we have never really asked ourselves this question, especially high performance. We've always been running away from something, right? We've always been achieving, working, busy, money. It's very nice to make money, but what do we actually really want to do? So a great exercise would be to strip, this is something that I do with guys that come to me, is strip away everything that you have. Let's get bare naked. Let's say that you do not have anything in your life, that your money gets taken away from you. What will you do? Because that creates clarity. If we strip you down from everything that you have, what is left? Like, what would you do on a day-to-day basis that would still make you happy? That's a really interesting question to ask yourself, right? And the pursuit of gaining money could be something that excites you, for example. But then again, once you have it, you end up in the exact same place. So I would urge you to really look into these things and really figure out what is important to me. And again, there are no rules. The only rules that there are, again, are the self-imposed limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, and then the rules that basically are rooted in your subconscious from teachers, parents, all these kinds of things. And these still influence your day-to-day life. These still influence your way that you sit, the way that you make decisions, the way that you go into relationships, the way that you even do business, the way that you wake up, the way that you talk to kids, if you have kids, for example. So basically, it comes down to this one thing, and it is, in order to create the best and the most exciting future version of yourself, it requires you to understand who you are and who you want to be. Well, there's a great book, it's called Conversations with God. And this is something that really helped me with that. Now, if you're a Christian, I would say read this book. In Dutch, we say with a pinch of salt. So like, don't take it too serious. I like to read books and just see what's in there, if there's something that I can take from it. If you're a Christian, it's a bit anti-Christian in some sort of way, but there are some very interesting concepts in there as well, which I do agree with. And one of the things is that it is our mission basically on this earth to reinvent, to rediscover ourselves, because most of the things that I talk to, that I speak with when it comes to guys that want my help, is that they already know what they want, but they've never really looked inside. They've never really taken the time to figure out why that is important and what it exactly is that excites them on a day-to-day basis. And often we find excuses for ourselves for why we can't do these things. For me, for example, a very limiting belief was I can't do music and incorporate that or spend time with that because that is not something that makes me money. But I have found that, especially in this personal brand game, that those are actually the things that make people relate to me. Like, there is literally no downside to me showcasing that I'm good at playing piano and making music, because it connects people, right? So that was a limiting belief that I had for a very long time. Now, this is something that you have to work on yourself. This is something that you have to go through yourself. But once you do, you can create this future version of yourself. And it's not something that you write down once, right? And then you're like, bam, I've got it. This is it. Now, this is something that you're going to come back to every single week for the next, 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. I would say do it for 3 weeks in the weekends. Take an hour time. Get a little notebook. Buy a separate notebook just for that, right? Pen and paper. No computers, no laptops. Go and sit down, right? Sit down in a little cafe, sit down in some place quiet, and really have a chat with yourself. Really ask yourself, what is it that I really want to do? What is it that excites me to do? And it could be anything, I don't know, maybe you like cooking. Maybe you want to do volunteering work. Maybe you want to create super good movies. Maybe you want to build an amazing business, for example. But more often than not, we find that these things are very personal. We want to, it's a form of, we want to be able to express who we are in the things that we do. And we really don't find a way to do that. So for the next 3 weeks, take a notebook, go to a little cafe or whatever it is, take some time and write your future version and write it in detail, right? Really write down who you want to become, what this version of you, the best version that you have in your mind does. Why is he confident? How confident is he? How does he talk? What kind of relationships does he have? How does he deal with pressure? What kind of car does he drive? What does his lifestyle look like? What are interactions look like? What does his physique look like? What does his mind look like? What actions does he take on a day-to-day basis? Because once we do that, and you do that for long enough time, if you do that for 3 weeks, you'll find out some recurring things that are very important to you. And then it becomes easier to figure out, how can I implement those things into my day-to-day life, right? Then it just becomes implementing those things in my day-to-day life. And understanding that there is an old version of you, an old identity, that is going to try to pull you back to that familiar, right? There is an old version that's going to try to pull you back, that's going to tell you why you're doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. Especially the more that you go into it, the stronger that voice is going to be, right? It's like cutting down weight. When you're cutting down with weight, in the beginning it's pretty easy. But the more weight you lose, the slower your metabolism gets. So the more effort you have to put in to lose weight. But then eventually you look shredded as fuck and you're happy. And then you can just basically be pretty lean year round, get your metabolism up, and you create a new baseline, right? That's exactly how it works with identity as well. You've got to see it as a sort of muscle that you have to train. And there's going to be resistance from that muscle as well. So you've got to nurture it. This is why a notebook is important. Just sit down. Once you do that, and once you figure out what it exactly is that you're running away from, this is the anti-vision, right? And once you figure out where do I want to go to, what excites me, what is the future version of me that I want to go to, and it has to be something big, something grand. It could also be making a lot more money. That is part of my future version as well. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be money, for example. It could be anything. But it should be a complete package of the person that you want to become. And once you have that, you'll find yourself on a day-to-day basis understanding what you need to do in order to become that person. And that creates fulfillment, because once we do the things that are in line with who we say we want to become, that creates alignment. And that is something that creates confidence. That is something that creates a signal, an internal signal in our brain, in our body, in our mind that says, I do the things that I say I do. I follow through. I'm a trustworthy guy. And that in turn feeds the loop, right? And it goes faster and faster and faster. You build upon that. And that is how you create a very fulfilling life. And then once you probably reach that new best version of yourself, there is new heights that you can go to, right? And you can be happy with who you've become in the process, because peace and acceptance of who you are is also important. There needs to be balance between progress and peace. But once you do find that, you will live a very congruent lifestyle, which will have you waking up early in the mornings, excited for the day, which will have you in bed by night, not with that uneasy feeling in your head of like, oh, I'm missing something, I'm not doing something, or why do I still feel like shit, even though I made 10 grand today or 20 grand today, because I know what that feels like. I've had those days, and I still felt fucking miserable. I still felt like something was missing, because something was. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and if you want to know more about all of this stuff, if you want to know more about how to become the best disciplined version of yourself as a high performer, if you want to deal with your self-destructive behavior, for example, insecurities, external validation, all of these kinds of things, then you can either watch a video of me, I'll link it down here, where I explain my journey, what I went through, or you can text me on Instagram, we'll have a chat, we'll give you some cool stuff that you can work with, and then we'll see what we can do. For now, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.